My name is Alex Jackson, and I'm from Experience Innovation Consulting. Today I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of the AI-powered research platform Osum. This video is really intended to turn around and walk you through, as a prospective user, what you might be getting from the platform if you choose to engage with it. And so for myself, I came at this from the perspective of a small business owner working in a consultant role, looking at how do I better understand the customers that I potentially am going to be targeting, and able to then purse out specific ICPs based on previous engagements. That was my objective with the platform, and let's see how it turns out. So first things first, I want to just walk you through their sales pitch really quickly. It's all about four components, right? So the first piece is a SWOT analysis. Second piece is a product report. Then we get into the buyer personas, and finally your sales prospect profiler. These last two pieces were the aspects that were of interest to me. I've got a pretty good handling on my organization as a SWOT analysis, and I'm generally pretty hesitant to turn around and conduct a SWOT analysis up to this point using AI. Haven't seen great results so far, but let's go ahead and take a deeper look and see what I found inside of Osum. So without further ado, the rest of this is just hey, it's our way, versus the old way. Let's actually take a look at the report here. So out of respect, I'm going to walk you through my brand audit that Osum conducted today. I did run 3 in total, but out of respect for the other brands, we won't be evaluating them. The first part of the platform analysis is the SWOT analysis. So it gives the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, if we take a look at some of the results, I wanted to just call this out. This is fairly accurate. They've done a great job of combing and scraping our website, understanding who our team is. We have great client testimonials. Thank you for that. Awesome. They do recognize our solution partnership with Asana. Good. And they do call out our integration of lean principles, specifically aligned with the Toyota production system. All good. So this is all things that I would expect so far. Next piece is around weaknesses. Limited team size. Yes, we know that. We offset that using agents as well as freelancers and consultants. So that's good. Market saturation. Yeah, nothing really new. New establishment. Okay, interesting. 3 years old. I see where you're coming from. Dependency on Asana. I like this piece of feedback, right? I thought this was quite valuable. And then the other piece was limited market recognition. This, of course, is a challenge for most smaller consulting firms. So as we grow, definitely a good opportunity for us. Opportunities, again, I like this. It looked like good pieces of feedback, especially around the industry specialization. Pick one or the other, just based on the nature of our work. It's a little bit difficult, but that's okay. And I do appreciate the call out around digital transformation demand, and the option to turn around and train or expand into offering some type of training and certification. All good pieces of feedback, all align with our future roadmap. So, threats. These are pretty standard threats. I mean, everything that I would expect when thinking about what are the risks that a consulting agency faces. Not necessarily anything that's unique or specific to us, but overall, it's okay. So in terms of the first core feature, the SWOT analysis, I was happy. I liked the results, even if I found that they were a little bit generic in some places, specifically around the threats. This isn't anything that was new or very specific to us. I did feel they did a great job with having their agents or their bot go through and actually identify and purse out key pieces of information about our brand. So overall, I'd say I'm happy with the results of the SWOT analysis. Next piece was the market sector research. So taking a look at this, it gives me my market, my introduction, key features, key trends, challenges. Yeah, that's good. All fine and dandy. I'm okay with all of that. Does it really turn around and give me anything I didn't know? No. Is it anything I wouldn't be able to figure out from a website scan pretty quickly? No. Do I acknowledge fully that this isn't intended for me to assess my own website? 100%. In terms of market size and growth, let's take a look at this here. So, to streamline processes, again, we're getting a little bit generic in terms of the outputs, not really giving me anything that I wouldn't already know. So these are key pieces of information, but I mean, nothing that base knowledge. So let's take a look at the decoding consumer behavior component. We'll look at the markets, or we'll score market sector overall. Thinking about brand loyalty, yeah, good. Again, it's good feedback, but it's very generic in terms of relevancy to us as an organization. Influencing factors, yeah, I mean, again, none of this is going to be overly insightful or give us really any guidance. We understand the importance of expertise in the industry. We understand the importance of client testimonials. Most folks who work in an agency or consultant type role value and understand the importance of these activities. Okay, so purchasing channels, nothing new here. Again, this is pretty straightforward, just generic boilerplate information. It's spitting out for us at this point. It's saying, okay, here's what you do, here's the pretty standard information. And out of respect for Osum, there's going to be stuff that they're not going to know about, that, partnerships, they're not going to be able to assess that. But, overall, the outputs here so far have been pretty generic. When we look at customer segmentation strategies, this piece I thought, again, maybe we're onto something, because I see government agencies, mid-sized orgs, and mission-driven organizations. All three are target markets or different ICPs that we work with. So let's take a look at the characteristics and the behaviors. Well, again, this isn't really anything that I don't already know. Like, give me some insight into who these organizations might be. Show me trends, show me different organizations that are publishing information about this. From a regulatory landscape analysis, I just glanced over this. This at this point is all boilerplate, large language model production of content. None of it is inaccurate, it's just not insightful or adding any value for me at this point. So thinking about critical considerations, again, we look at the primary risks. Okay, these are good. I'd agree with all of these. Success factors, yep, good. Legal considerations, nothing new, right? Like, this is pretty standard information. And even when I conducted an analysis of two other brands, the outputs that we were getting, it was pretty standard business knowledge. It was something that, you would expect a junior analyst or somebody of that caliber to know. They would have learned this information, or they'll have learned it through various different post-secondary means or outside of post-secondary means. So overall, in terms of the market sector, I'd rate the results as poor. Nothing wrong with them. They're very generic, and it wasn't insightful. Now, that was across only 3 analyses. I did a small business, so my own. I did a medium-sized organization, and then I did a growing mid-sized medium organization, just for different data points. Results overall were very comparable, very generic. The SWOT component was very good, but the market sector analysis was pretty boring at best. So in terms of context and offering, I'll walk you through this now. It's quite extensive, so I won't go through every piece, but it does a good job of summarizing the key information about the business and giving me the information that I understand to be important. So this piece I was actually quite happy with. In terms of the market positioning, here's the problem, is that we're starting to get into very generic, you're the expert, position yourself as a trusted associate. Like, people don't want to hear this stuff. They understand it. They've read it a million times. Tell me about the how. Tell me about the why. I think that's really where we need to go with that next level of AI in terms of creating content that's meaningful. Brand perception, exploring business viability. These are all interesting things. I'd be curious to understand how it accessed any of my revenue growth, though I'd be very afraid to ask that question. Though at the same time, I am interested, as there was no integrations, no plugins. So I'm assuming that's just a boilerplate answer based on probably LinkedIn headcount, I would assume. I will pause there and just call out as one of my red flags for the platform, and probably one of my biggest gripes, there's no references. There's no sources provided for any of the report status. I don't have a really good understanding of where or how they've come up with this information. And, the other piece that's quite concerning for me is when I went through their small print, they go, oh, well, for $17,500 US, we can turn around and produce a report that has those references in it. And it's like, wow, that's substantially more than I would pay for a junior analyst who can do the same quality of work in significantly less time. So with that, we get into the customer insights. So this part, I personally am not a big fan of buyer personas. I don't feel that they add a lot of value, but I did turn around and want to evaluate the platform, right? We're not looking to sell to one person in a B2B organization. We are focused on we're focused on the whole buying committee. So I was curious to understand, is this going to give me something that I could actually turn into one of the buyer persona or buying committee personas? Looking at this, initially right out of the gate, not bad, right? It's kudos to the team at Osum. I want to call out for the 5 minutes that it took this report to generate. I loved it. It was not bad results at all. Would I use this? No. No, this is not grounded in any type of data from my organization. This isn't aligned with the actual personas that I've seen in real life who are in those roles. And I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, the psychographics. Okay, so spontaneous, the trendsetter, the early adopter, the power user. I can't click on these, so I see no definitions. That means that I'm being expected to have the same definition as the team who put this together. And spontaneous to me may mean a lot of different things. It's the same thing as the trendsetter. The trendsetter and what? Okay, so if he's this person that we've talked about here, Ethan Marshall, our fictional persona, is the early adopter, well, okay, so early adopter of what? Again, these are very generic, just bland. Okay, so you have a persona, it gives you the key pieces of information. I don't think this is really matched to current business needs. So overall, happy with the results. Would I use them? No, not at all. In terms of, there we go, there's the psychographics. So there's our personality type expanded. So I apologize to the team at Osum. I didn't realize that that's where those were before. So then we look at the pain points. Okay, sorry, sociotype expanded. There we go. So with that, we've got our user pain points. And then from there, and again, this isn't bad, right? So looking at this, we see limited team size, the new establishment, dependency. Okay, so this is back to actually talking about, it's nothing huge. Work habits, understand, yep, we're good, ideals, yeah, I'd agree with all of that. That all looks accurate and correct. Likes, dislikes, wants. Yeah. Day in the life. So, I mean, this is, and then you start to get into interesting things like the mom test, the buyer journey. I like this. And the challenges of ensuring sustainable income. So, yeah, let's take a look here. That's not bad, not bad, not bad. Yeah, and you know what? The user stories aren't terrible either, right? I would need to turn around and obviously I'd want that written with specific products or services in mind, but as a first starting point, it's not terrible. From there, we have the sales prospect profile. Again, these aren't terrible. All of this is a really good start, and if you're a smaller organization, you're looking for a prompt to get you going and get you working on a lot of these pieces, this is a good start. When I turned around and I conducted an analysis of the other two brands, the sales prospect profile actually produced very favorable results. I was quite happy with the outcomes. So this section I was quite impressed by. I liked it. I found it quite valuable. And I would use the information here. So in terms of the product audit itself, not so much applicable to us as we're service-based, but they did do a good job, they being the Osum team, of designing their outputs so that it assesses that, hey, we're service-based, and here are our different product offerings. In terms of product market fit, I appreciated this. This was good. Though unfortunately, none of this was overly insightful. This was really everything that you'd be able to quickly find on a website. Some of this was even copied just word for word directly from our website. So not bad. The other piece here, I did appreciate the USP that it carves out, right? So it starts to really understand or help us understand where's the value. From a functionality perspective, I found this quite valuable and quite useful in terms of the insights. I did like the product roadmap functionality as well. I appreciated the fact that you can turn around and start to craft, a vision, especially if you're a younger startup or a first-time founder. These type of tools are helpful to guide the process in terms of, hey, who am I after? What do I need to do? It gives you a checklist that you can then go ahead and take with you. Problem is, almost all of this is fairly generic. There's a little bit of tailorized and personalized content that's relevant to us, but for the most part, Google search about how do you create a product roadmap will probably give you similar results that you would then be able to then personally modify as appropriate. When we think about uncertain factors validation, we turn around and we look at different ways that the team is capable, not capable. As we got into this piece, I started to look at the results and I thought, okay, these are not bad. Problem I have with, especially with the FAQs, how did you go ahead and assess these versus the keywords that were important to us? And I think that's part of the platform offering that I'd be curious about. Again, coming back to those sources in your algorithms, how are you establishing and understanding that these are the pieces that are important to us as an organization to be able to answer to our prospective clients? Thinking about forward planning, this is where things got a little bit interesting. So, kudos to the team at Osum. I hope I experience this type of growth, and we're on a path to investments. I like the 5-second pitch. This is good. Then we get into the pitch deck craft. This is pretty fun, right? This is interesting and impactful stuff. I actually took a couple of the different slides that it offered, and I copied those out to Beautiful AI. I'll review that in a different video. But the outputs were good. I did appreciate the way that the team at Osum had structured these, so a lot of value there. In terms of just to continue moving through this, the investor engagement aspect, good, though interesting, right? Like we're starting to get into a very specific set of processes around investor outreach, and it's like, okay, this is good. Just make sure that you're using this as a starting point, and then you're building off of that. From there, I did want to also just look at capital deployment. These started to get a little bit interesting, right? I looked at what are the different options that it presented. As someone who's previously raised capital, I'd be aligned with these. My only concern, I guess, is it really starts 150,000 goes fast, right? So if all you're raising, I keep doing that, but if all you're raising is 150,000, how are you going to turn around and use that to really accelerate growth? And I guess that's the thing I'd offer to the team at Osum as feedback, is how do you take some of this great first draft of materials that you've created and that the platform is producing, and how do you then scale that? How do we turn this into something actionable that a team can take away for strategy? So when we look at the different internal tools, it talks about predictive analytics, external tools, more predictive analytics and machine learning algorithms. Again, we're getting back into pretty generic strategies or pretty generic recommendations. That's okay. We're a small firm. This makes sense for us. With some of the bigger organizations we did test this against, it was better, a little bit better outputs. So overall, in terms of the investment initiative section, I did like it. I would use some of the outputs. I would just modify them before I did, and I was overall very happy with the outputs that I received. Okay, so let's talk about the last section here, growth strategies. So first we've got channels and distribution. None of this is actually, well, with the exception of industry events, anything that I would use. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've got online platforms or an online presence, but a direct sales team, absolutely not at our size. Referral programs, I shouldn't say that. We do use that. And email marketing, we currently don't run. It's just such a saturated effort. I don't know that would be my top target in terms of how do we start to drum up new business. So then looking at early adopter acquisition, I see, some of the different marketing ideas that are coming up, as well as potential price points presented for each option. I don't mind it. Again, none of it is overly creative, overly unique, but at the same time, not terrible. And also thinking about the budgets for some of this stuff, $1,000 to $2,000 a month for LinkedIn, probably not going to go too far. So the team at Osum, maybe something to look at, just being more aligned with current market valuations. Customer acquisition, starting to think about, and this is good, right? Data-driven marketing, account-based marketing, referral incentive programs, customer success initiatives. I like all of it. This actually I found to be much more valuable than the early adopter acquisition. Getting into community development, we look at all of these different aspects that might be interesting. I liked it. I thought this was interesting. I felt it was valuable. When we think about lifetime value enrichment and how we might build on our customer experience that we're currently offering, this I found quite interesting and quite valuable. And closing out with the unconventional marketing aspect, how do you start to create these different opportunities, that people are going to then have the opportunity to gain traction and grab onto. For me, I found this quite valuable, and actually we will be looking at a interactive virtual workshop and how do we get that happening. So with that overall, we then did a technology assessment. Now this was interesting to me because it gets into resource planning, and so all of this it's not bad, but also nothing overly original. It doesn't do any type of database analysis for the different insight tools or intent tools to pull what type of technology we're using currently in our stack. So everything that you see here is just generic recommendations that they've put forth. In terms of performance measurements, again, none of this is currently being used by us. Actually, well, we use Data Studio to turn around and do visualizations when needed. In terms of our recruitment roadmap, I thought this was quite interesting. We're getting into $50,000 a month or $600,000 a year, which seems insane to me to turn around and talk about. But we 50,000, 60,000, 70,000. Man, we're spending big money here. So I think for myself, just looking at how does that turn around and become something that's a little more tangible and a little more realistic. Though Osum's analysis of our company may also be that, hey, we actually have a bigger organization than we thought. So with that, it gives us some different roles and salaries where there might be opportunities for growth there as well. I thought that was quite impactful. When we look at contractors, of course, this all makes sense. Next section was around the operational forecast, different expense categories. Most of this is going to be pretty standard information, though I do appreciate it's now all in one place. So this was good. I like the resource planning. The recruitment roadmap, I didn't understand it overly in terms of the way that they presented some of these numbers. Would I use this information? Possibly, possibly not. More realistically, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to look at these different roles and say, okay, what is our roadmap? What's our plan for growth? And tie that in there using this information. Would I use it overall? Yes. Am I happy with the outputs overall? Yes. In terms of the operational forecast, it's good. Again, a little bit generic. The outputs are pretty standard. It's what you would expect. It's nothing out of the ordinary, but considering what Osum has access to in terms of data, overall very happy. Content recommendations, this started to get interesting. So, as a small solopreneur / growing entrepreneurial team, we're constantly thinking about and looking at how do we create content. This was a rather interesting section. I liked the fact that it provided blog posts, case studies, infographics, different opportunities for us to turn around and potentially go forward with, and then also looking at what are the different relevant SEO terms. I guess my question is, how did you get this list, and where, how, when can we turn around and reference that against, what our organization's keywords are already? So I guess for the Osum team, it would be wonderful to have part of this be actually a questionnaire on the brand itself in terms of the different activities they may be completing. Realizing that you may not always be assessing your own brand, you're most likely using Osum to assess someone else's brand. This is good. This is all very insightful information, and if I didn't know anything about the brand, I would agree with this list of keywords for sure. It's a good fit. Search marketing ads, yep, I would agree with all of those. Not sure what the Innovate Force exclusive offer is. I don't plan on having an Innovate Force community anytime soon, but that's okay. And the last piece here is OKRs. And this piece I appreciated the fact that it's able to go through and actually help break out what are the different key objectives and results. However, this becomes a bit of a mishmash, right? When we look back on the different sections that it's provided us over the course of the audit, are we looking at this from a analyst assessing an outside company, or are we looking at this from a solopreneur CEO, small team, growing team that's auditing their own business? And so I guess there was, for me as a user, a lot of value that I saw from the platform. I liked a lot of the outputs. I'd use certain parts, I wouldn't use others. Overall, I don't find it worth the value right now in our current value stream. However, we look forward to testing again in the next 5 to 6 months and circling back. Thanks so much and have a great day. All the best.